So welcome to Melody Place Farm Inc., our second board meeting. We are recording this. It's going to go on YouTube like everything else, but unlisted. So the only people who will have it will be members of our board, and we don't share it outside that. So unfortunately, Luke St. Pierre couldn't be here today, so we're missing him. But as chair of the board, chairperson of the board, I'm happy to welcome Tina-Rae back to the board.
Thank you.
All right, and Belen, if you can get your camera going, that would be great. But if not,
I can't. And
know,
yet I had success with Chris earlier this week, so I
okay.
have no idea. I might need to shut off my computer and restart it. If you want, I can try to do that.
Well, I think for now, unless there's some overwhelming reason why you want to do that, you sent me some documents this morning, and I have them, so I can
Okay.
show them without issue. I did.
I think, I'm sorry, Bruce, I think I'll be able to share them, share
Okay.
the
Well, good.
documents. It's just my video that's not working.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Good. Well, that would be great. I spent a few hours this morning. Putting a few slides together too, so that we can focus on some of the issues with the help of slides. And and I did circulate an agenda to everybody, or at least to Chris, and then I asked Chris to send it to everybody, which I know he did. Um, I did have one agenda item that I would like to add with the permission of the members of the board. And it goes back to in my original involvement with tiny homes. I wanted to have two suppliers in Canada and two in the United States. And I did some work with Tumbleweed and Sprout in Colorado, both very good tiny home builders. And then I did some work, as you know, Mylene, and I think Tina-Rae too, Chris as well, with a small living company, Hammond Hill. And I had a lot of hope that for Brad Cartier and Aaron Markle, that they would produce good tiny homes at a reasonable price. Um, and unfortunately, in terms of quality assurance, they have really fallen down on the job. I think you know that I paid $112,000 plus HST for one of their Vanguard units, which is very small, 180 square feet. And it took a year for delivery, and they actually never actually delivered it. I had to send Metro Towing out to Rockland to actually grab it, so to speak, steal something that belonged to me, paid in full, hauled it out to my site, and when I got it on site, it didn't have a toilet, and about a dozen other essential items were missing, and we're still fixing problems on it here. And now it's January 22nd. So I wouldn't recommend at this point any more, units bought from small living company. And I do like Humble Creek, but they're having some production issues. I can share that with you. So one of the things I'd like to add is I have found another tiny home builder that, if I have your permission, I'm going to add that to our agenda just so that we can have a discussion. And if the board approves adding a second supplier, which I think might be a very good idea, I have set up a time. And Mylene, I was hoping if you have time, and maybe Tina-Rae too, you might come and visit them next month. But that will be dependent on whether or not the board approves it.
Where are they?
Uh,
Oh, you're gonna tell us. Okay. Okay.
no, it's okay. You asked a question, I'll answer it. Excuse me. They're in Chrysler, which is 23 minutes away from the farm. And I have some slides to show, and I have talked to the owner there, and it sounds quite promising, I think. And I'll show you that, and when it comes up. But I would like to add that to the agenda. Is there anything else that we should add to our agenda?
Um,
Uh,
I'm I'm
Go
just
ahead, Mel.
I don't oh sorry. Uh
Yeah, no worries.
I
Go
don't
go for
know
it.
that adding more things to the agenda is quite long, and I'm kind of concerned, and I'm wondering, Bruce, if we can rearrange the order of the agenda or just go through quickly some of the things that we had addressed last time. Just because, I mean, from my perspective, I would really like to have some final decisions on some of the items that are lower down in the agenda.
Yeah, Bruce, I got some more specific talk with Mylene on some of these agenda items, and we just want to definitely come to a consensus. So I think we can breeze through some of this and get there. But
Yeah,
um,
I agree. And the only reason, sorry, Milan, I have a bit of a cold. The only reason that the agenda is as long as I did include a lot of the stuff that we did put to
Yeah.
bed last time. So we will just check those off in less than 10 or 15 seconds. So I think we can get through quite a bit, and certainly we'll get to the important decisions that you're looking for. I'm sure we can do that.
Can I just ask also another thing? You had another version of the agenda last meeting that you used as a recording document. When we voted on it, somebody passed the motion, somebody seconded, etc. Are you going to give us that as well, or do you keep that?
Well, I have my agenda open, as people agree or don't agree or approve things, I will certainly mark it on my agenda. I can update it, and I'll
Okay.
circulate that as well.
Okay.
Bruce, I thought you did send it. If you didn't, maybe you just sent it to me because to answer your question, Mylene, he did like, note all that, and I actually sent it to our lawyer to keep a record of that. So
Yeah,
I can always send you a copy of that as well.
I can I can include the AI companion here. I haven't used it before. I think maybe Luke started it, but that's fine. Um,
it's not a big deal. It's
No,
just that
no,
it would
it's
be
important. I'm just trying to see. Um, I'm just trying to see. Thank you for this, Milena, because I'd like to learn how to use it. I'm just trying to see. Okay, meeting questions. Who can ask questions? It's an AI companion on Zoom. All participants and invitees. Um, a meeting summary. Only meeting hosts and meeting invitees. All meeting invitees, including those outside of the organization. I think I've got it, but I'm not 100% sure I'm doing it right. So I'll keep a record of it, but I would like to learn how to use this AI companion. Has anybody used it? I think Luke did it for me last time. Chris, have you ever used AI companion?
Not yet, really. We have some other ones in our organization that pop on, but I haven't directly used it yet.
So I'll just see if there's anything else that I should look at. I
but
apologize. I should have prepared for this
no,
before.
no, no, Bruce, it doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be a big deal. All I was thinking, and if you shared that last document with
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah. No,
just if
I think, yeah. Anything that goes into the chat box as well, I can share. So that I can do as well. So if we have anything that we want to put in the chat box, that I know how to do. All right, let's go back to the agenda then. I'll share my screen with you guys here in a second. Um, okay. So we have a quorum present. We've acknowledged that Luke is absent, and we welcomed Tina-Rae back. Can I have a mover to accept the agenda?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Chris. A seconder?
Yes.
Was that Tina-Rae?
That was
Yes.
Tina-Rae.
Oh, what happened? Sorry. All right. Is there anything from the previous minutes that anybody picked up that needs to be changed?
but that's kind of what I was saying, Bruce. I don't know that we got the previous minutes.
Hmm. Okay.
I think I might have received them, but Chris thinks you sent them to him and he sent them to the lawyer. I'm not sure I received it, but I will
Right,
check.
yeah, that may be the case, in which case maybe Chris, if you find them, you can circulate them to everyone, including Luke, who's not here.
Yes, I can
I,
absolutely do that.
I don't recall seeing them either.
Well, you wouldn't have seen it because you weren't on the board at that time.
Okay.
You're not officially a member of the board until we vote. And guess what?
Okay.
get a vote. So you need Mylene and Chris and I to vote you back on the board, Tina-Rae, which is a foregone conclusion. I just put down here, welcome Alex and her family to the farmhouse, and Luke and Jen have their tiny home on site now. So those are the two leases, two new leases that we've done recently, and there's more, I'm sure, to come. This is actually the executive director's update, but I think I would like to move, accepting Tina-Rae back to the board. And do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Absolutely unanimous.
Aye.
Yep.
All the ayes have it. All right. Okay, so
All right.
we're going to just move through this as quickly as possible. Okay, Mylene? So this is, Chris, part of your update, and I'll have some other updates later on. But anyway, let's talk about these workshops.
Yeah, so I mean, really, the update is still in process. Elvia and we've been talking, and she's just waiting on North Country to finalize their initial one for us to sign off on as far as the design goes. And then once that happens, they're going to start production on the rest of them. And I know we're going to get into the site plan on where we might want to put those kind of things, but in process is where we're at with that.
Thank you. And Chris, we've completed the secondary financing with Graham Jones and Sean McCormick.
That's done now. Yep, we're all good. Just got to pay the legal fee, and we're all set.
All right, that's great news. Maybe it's a good moment to talk about financing, and the financing is really these three things on the agenda here. Chris and I did talk to the Bank of Montreal. I know Chris has been looking at the Canadian Small Business Loan Program, and I raised a possibility of another equity raise for the company, but at a higher share price. I think we've done, actually, as a team, we've done a pretty good job pushing the ball down the field. We have a good handle on what our farm will look like and what the economic engines are. And, as everybody knows, we sold, 1% interest in this company for $5,500. And I think we could push that to a 2X or maybe even a 3X. So we could possibly raise some more money. And I suggested between 200 and 300,000 to Chris of new equity. And we might double the price to $1,100 per 1%, or possibly $16,500 per 1%. And the reason I suggested this to Chris and now to the board is that I think financing, debt financing is a concern. It's the interest rates are high. Getting financing these days is difficult, more difficult in Canada than the United States, but still difficult everywhere, I think. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up with the board, and I know, Chris, I think you did too.
Absolutely. I mean, so I'm on board from my end to be able to do that. On the flip side, I filled out my personal financials for BMO, so they thought the easiest path for us to maybe consolidate the loans we already have and just get with that A1 lender is to just do a classic mortgage with them. So they have everything from my end now. I sent that over this week, and they're going to come back and see if they can help us out. But I think if we do both, if we could get them to take out our mortgage, maybe give us a little bit more with a better rate, and then we do the equity raise, I think we're going to be a really, really great spot.
Yeah, so
Our way through this
what
year.
I just off the top of my head, I would like to see a 3X, really basically, and if it's okay with you, I'll explain why I think a 3X is doable. We bought 27 acres of farmland, and even if you think the house has no value, which is not correct, or any of the outbuildings have no value, $675,000 divided by 27 acres gives you a land value of $25,000 an acre. And a little later in this in this board meeting, I am going to talk about what Chris might do, possibly with Kira Brown, which is to put a dog park, a 1 acre dog park, private dog park on this property. And I'm going to show you how, just by doing one land lease, possibly with Chris, and the reason Chris is interested in doing it is Mylene, he and Tina-Rae, he wants to get out of the corporate rat race like yesterday. And he wants to replace his current income with something, business income. But even as a farm where we're leasing that land to maybe to Chris and maybe to Kira Brown, his potential business partner in this, I think we can raise the value of our property to around 150,000 an acre. So let's just think about that for a moment. We bought it, assuming the buildings are worth nothing, for 25,000 an acre with one land lease for a dog park. And whether it was to you, Chris, or to somebody else, it would be the same. I'll show you some calculations later on in this slide deck that says that we can get to, a factor. I mean, 25,000 into 150,000 is that 6 times? Yeah, 6 times, right? So I don't think a 3x would be unsellable, if you will. That's my take on it.
Agreed.
Someone, an acquaintance who's interested in potentially investing in Melody Place too. So I'm glad we're talking about this.
So what I would need, or what Chris would need, or what we would all need, is we would need to think about that, because there is some dilution that goes on. All of us would get diluted. For example, if we raised $300,000 at a 3x, there would be, I did calculate it, I think a 16% overall dilution. So if somebody owns 20% now, they would end up with 16 or 17% ownership. But so you're owning a smaller portion, but of a company now that is 3 times more valuable than when it was originally purchased. So 20% might go down to 16 or 17%, but the value would be a 3 times multiple. So you'd be quite a piece ahead, I think.
Bruce, can I just interject for a moment? I mean, I find it difficult to make a decision one way or another, because I know that you have your numbers in your head, but I've spoken to Chris. I really think that we need to have a business plan so that we can crunch those numbers and really see the overall picture. Because there are a lot of ideas on how we use the land, and some are more lucrative than others. Chris, if you don't mind, I texted you to ask you if Bruce was aware of this. I would like to go in on the dog park as well with Chris. And there are a couple of other ideas that I also, as a private investor, would like to look at. And I think that there are a lot of ideas that are running around. The Farm Academy is one, and I know that you discouraged us because it lingers too much on, getting involved, getting Melody Place Farm involved in a business as opposed to leasing the land out. So I understand that. But I think there are a lot of ideas, and I think that the return per acre is going to depend on what it is that we lease the land out for. Do we lease like just empty land to stick a dog park on? Or do we lease the land with utilities? I know that we're going to do all of that. It's just difficult for me to be able to say, yeah, sure, let's raise this equity this way, without really having done the math behind it. And you kind of did, but I don't think the math really goes forward in time. So that's just my reservation, Bruce, on it. I understand the more investors we have, the less per share return we're going to have. On the other hand, it'll allow us to achieve more. I understand that, but I just don't have a grasp for the numbers, Bruce.
Yeah, so those are valid points, Mylene. Whether whoever owns the dog park, you know, I mean, that's not something I'm agnostic about that. I thought it was something that Chris was interested in doing, as I said, so he can get out of the rat race and replace his current income with something that's comparable. I've talked to a number of people about dog parks. I've coached two ladies who own private dog parks, and they can be very lucrative. But it goes back, Melinda, to the philosophy that I laid out. And if the board decides to go in a different direction, this is a good time to decide that. But the direction that I wanted to go in with the farm was the opposite of what Hammond Hill did, which failed. And
Yeah.
that is that the farm would be a platform for other people to build successful businesses on. Meanwhile, the farm is still making some money. But I mean, for example, a 1 acre dog park should probably make at least $150,000 of a year in gross income. And if the board decided that they would like to do the dog park as a company, we don't need to talk about a land lease. We just do it. And the same thing goes with Freedom Farm Academy. I'm not opposed to Freedom Farm Academy. I just think that it should be somebody who's doing a land lease on the farm who is operating the Freedom Farm Academy, and somebody who's interested in running a dog park should do that. Again, speaking just for myself, I don't think that's what Melody Place Farm Inc. should be doing. I think we should be, as I said, a real estate company that's in the business of leasing land, leasing workshops, leasing garden plots, leasing dog parks, land for the dog park owner, or land for the Freedom Farm Academy. I'm all in favor of Freedom Farm Academy, but I think the farm itself should just be the landlord and not the operator. That's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's a shame that you can't see my face because I'm nodding in agreement, Bruce, as you're talking.
Well,
So,
I'm glad to hear that, because
yeah.
usually when I talk, you're shaking your head.
No, no.
Yeah, you're killing me.
Um, I do. Well, maybe. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My only comment to that, Bruce, is I still have not an attachment, but I still have in my mind this is a piece of farmland. It's not an empty plot, an empty lot. And that's one thing. So I do kind of think, okay, we can rent out the land, and I think we are doing that, but maybe be more explicit about it. Is the type of businesses need to that come on the farm need to respect the farm, the integrity of the land. And the other thing I'm also thinking, and I'm not saying I'm hard fast on it, but it's probably the reason why I keep going back to, these opportunities, is I think that some of those opportunities can allow us to, will provide Melody Place Farm with, I don't want to say credibility, but more traffic in terms of the how can I the tenants that can come and go. I'll give you an example. A dog park, and I'm not married to this, Bruce, okay? But if the dog park was built by Melody Place Farm and then rented out as is, if there's one person that comes in, leaves, the dog park is set up, right? So the land and whatever amenities are existing, and that's what's leased. Um, Same thing with the Farm Academy. It's a plot, it's ready to go, but Melody Place Farm doesn't operate it. I again, perhaps crunching the numbers would help me, and I haven't done that. I agree. And you have a lot more information than I do in terms of the relative value. But that's where I'm kind of, vacillating between one and the other. And it's not resistance that you get from me. It's probably that's where my brain migrates to, because it just still makes sense to me. And I don't know that it's terribly far away from what you know, you've done.
It is quite different, Mylene.
Okay.
The reason for that is, you can set up a dog park for $50,000 or $60,000 or $150,000. A Freedom Farm Academy could be. I mean, I did talk to Matt Brett, and it could be $2 or $3 million. I'm not saying you'd spend that, but it can be. I mean, that's what he told me. And what I don't want to do is commit Melody Farm Place, if Melody Farm Inc., whatever, you know what I mean. Melody, oh God,
Melody Place Farm,
oh,
Bruce.
thank you. I really appreciate them. I have a head cold. It's my only excuse.
It's okay.
But I don't want to commit Melody Place Farm to, to those kinds of expenditures. And in terms of land improvements, would it be okay with members of the board if I just took you through the dog park, just because I have the numbers actually available right now? Would that be okay?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, because you brought it up, Mylene, and let's do it. So first of all, I came up with this name. If you don't like it, you can change it. But it's a riff on playground, and it's pawground.ca. And I think, Chris, you own the domain now.
Yeah, just to snag it, it was a few bucks, so I just picked it up.
It wasn't
Good idea.
It didn't much.
Yep.
So pawground.ca is a private dog park, and I came up with a tagline where tails wag the dog. Again, these are just placeholders. If you guys don't like it, that's fine. Then I asked ChatGPT to design a dog park. I mean, that AI tool is incredible, and you can just see this is a sample of what a dog park might look like: an area for large dogs, an area for small dogs, and an area for dogs that don't play well with other dogs. In other words, a private kind of area. And as I said, this is a way for Chris to hopefully replace his income from his current job. And then you can see the young woman on the left there at the bottom left. Her name is Kira, and there's her sister, Shani.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Anyway,
something like that.
I remember Kira's name for sure. Anyway, she makes doggy, I was going to call it doggy furniture, but it's not doggy stuff. She actually manufactures
Collars and stuff.
collars and leashes and maybe dog clothes. So somebody like Kira, if she was part of this, she would buy a tiny house. She'd want to be one of the 4 tiny houses that come onto the site. She would perhaps have her own workshop there, which is a good thing because we'd like to combine that. And she would help manage the dog park. And now here are some of the numbers. On the bottom right, you can see it's a little bit, oh shoot, it's a little bit bigger. Sorry, I lost my mouse here. Sorry. A little bigger print. Even Glenn at a land rent of just $1,250 a month for 1 acre. So whoever owns this dog park rents an acre from us for $1,250 a month. It's a net lease plus HST, gives a fair market value for our farmland of $15,000 a year, which is the gross income from that 1 acre. And I multiplied it by 0.66 because about 34% goes out the window for insurance and operating expenses that whatever they might be, property taxes, et cetera. And then the market cap rate is around 5.5% to 6%, and I use 5.85%. So it gives a value of the land, if you can sort of read at the bottom there, of $169,000 an acre. So we would have driven the value of the land from $25,000 an acre to over $150,000 an acre in less than a year if we do a lease like this. And in terms of who owns the improvements, well, the dog park owns the improvements, but Mylene, I've done many land leases. At the end of the land lease, and typically these land leases can be up to 20 years, at the end of the land lease, the improvements are left. They're not necessarily removed, all right? So that the farm would actually still own the land, of course, and it would also, of course, own any improvements if the farm decided that's what they wanted. So if you look on the left, I just wrote down some things that I think would help. And I'm doing this now for probably 4 or 5 other clients too that already have dog parks and a few others, including Chris, who's considering doing one. So I just put on a little bit of research on the left-hand side, $10 to $20 per dog per hour. Something I've added to the model is that people can buy a season ticket. I'm big on season tickets from my hockey background, but also from other things that I've been involved with. Gives them unlimited access. The private area for dogs that don't play well with other dogs might be $60 an hour. There'd be vending machines in a shed, so they're protected from the weather, where you could get a coffee or some nuts or whatever, a tea. And there'd be vending machines for dogs too, dog treats and dog toys. There'd be things for the dogs to do. You saw the ChatGPT design. There's lots of things for the dog to do. And in terms of protecting the land, poop and scoop, every owner must do that. The typical land lease, and these are just things I put together, would be 5-year land lease with 3 5-year options to renew, because nobody wants to put 50 or 60 or $100,000 into a dog park, or maybe even more, and then only have a 5-year lease. They have a 5-year lease with 3 5-year options to renew, so they can be there for 20 years. I put down a goal for the business, 150,000 of gross income in the first year, or maybe in the second year. And some of them, certainly the one north of Toronto that I coach, does well over $300,000. There's lots of opportunity for sponsorship, lots of companies that do dog clothing, dog food, pet spas, pet boarding. I mean, dog walking. I mean, who knows? I did put in here, whoever is the lessee, a rent-free period of 6 months, because it's going to take them time to set up and also to get the business going. The cost of the fencing and the dog park setup would be the responsibility of the land lessee. As I think some of you know, I coach Jamie Montero. She's was a single mom when I first met her, and she had nothing. She has set up a very successful pet grooming business. She has 3 permanent locations. She's opening a 4th, and she has 3 Sprinter vans where she does mobile grooming. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if she did regular visits to the dog park, so that you could bring your dog to the park, do whatever you do there, play with them, and then also get them groomed. And that's something that would go. And then I put in there as well that if whoever owns the dog park wanted to park a tiny home at Melody Place, they could do so. And if they wanted a workshop, they could rent one of those. So these are just some ideas I put together, but that's a pretty typical land lease. And what I didn't put on there, Mylene, is what happens at the end of the land lease, but typically the landlord or the land lessor has the option to either tell them, yes, leave all your stuff there, or remove it.
Okay.
Makes sense. And Bruce, I know Mylene was really interested in this too, so it's definitely something we want to keep her abreast on.
Well, I mean, I think that's something that Chris, you and Kira and Mylene, the 3 of you should talk about how you want to do that.
Right.
But I mean, unless the board decides that the company, our company, Melody Place Farm Inc., wants to do it and as a group. I personally don't want to do that, but if the board decides, we have a quorum here. If Chris and Tina-Rae and Mylene decide we should do it, then of course I'm going to go along with that.
So I just want to say something. First of all, you've got a lot of information, and a lot of this is probably part of the business plan of the actual dog park. So whoever's going to lease the land this would be really helpful. But here's an example, and I don't want to belabor the point, but you've got a lot of secondary business opportunities that come from this that I think you've taken it away.
Well, I just wanted to see everybody.
Okay. Except me.
Well, yeah, you got a picture camera, kid.
I'm laughing, Bruce. I'm laughing. So, you've got a lot of really interesting opportunities. Mark it out to your daughter to take pet family photos. That was one thing that, I was thinking we should target certain renters, tenants for the workshops that the farm has opportunities or characteristics that are really interesting for those potential tenants. So that would be one. The other one would be, having a workshop for doggy apparel. Another one, because I don't know that Kira is going to do all of that. And sure, it can be a business for a tenant to do that. I just think that the business itself, and this is one example, the business itself can bring in and attract other tenants. And if Melody Place Farm is somehow involved in running the business, and I don't know to what degree, either an investor in it or something, I don't know, Bruce, not to operate the farm, but to attract ancillary or complementary tenants to fill up and to rent out our workshops. I don't know if you see what I'm saying. Without
I do, but
Okay.
again, Mylene, I think we should try and make some decisions today, on what is, phase zero and what are we doing with, I had a quick look at your floor plan for the summer kitchen. I mean, we have decisions to make today. One of the decisions I was hoping we would make would be for the board to approve Chris O'Connell as our executive director to explore the opportunity of signing a land lease with the farm. Now, obviously, Chris can't vote on that because it's his proposal, I guess. And Mylene, if you're going to be part of it, I'm not sure you can vote on it either, but certainly Tina-Rae and I can vote on it. And speaking for myself, I don't care if Chris and Mylene vote as well. I don't care about conflict of interest in this case. But I think we should make some decisions today because I think we don't want to run out of money. So I think, at least in my opinion, we should try and raise $300,000 of new equity. I like what Chris is doing, with the BMO and all the rest of that, but I don't want to run out of money. I want to make sure that we have enough funds to do the things that we want to do, because this farm is going to be worth, $1.5 to $3 million in no time. But we don't want to run out of money. So I would like to make some decisions today. And one of the decisions I would like to ask for is the board support to raise up to $300,000 of new equity at a 3x multiple. And I would like the board to at least authorize Chris to explore a land lease with the farm. With you involved, Mylene, that's fine. With Kira involved, that's fine. It's his choice and your choice. But I'd like those votes. And so we move the ball down the field.
Okay, I'm okay with that, Bruce. I don't want to belabor the point. I don't want to hold us back. I realize that cash is important, so I'm okay, but I'm going to ask for your forgiveness ahead of time if I ever come back to that, because that's where my mindset is. But I am working on it. Okay, I just
No, I understand your mindset, and I totally respect it. My mindset was based on the most successful real estate business model I have ever seen, which
Okay.
was the Park Bridge model. And
Okay.
which is exactly this model, where they are strictly land lessees, right?
Okay.
You wanted to
Okay.
do a dog park at one of their cottage parks, they would lease you the land to do that. If you want to put a modular home or a tiny home or an RV on one of their properties, they would lease you the land.
Okay.
They are incredibly successful. They went from 3 cottage parks a generation ago to over 100 today. They're worth a couple of $1 billion, maybe a little bit more than that.
Okay.
They're a cash machine, and then I saw the other side, which was Hammond Hill, where they wanted to do everything. They
Yeah.
wanted to do the events, and they wanted to do the Airbnb thing, and all the other stuff. They actually wanted to operate as well as they weren't landlords. They really were in the business, and that thing is very close, I think, to failure. Okay, so I just, where I'm coming from is I want, as your chair, to this is very important to me too, Mylene. It is,
Yeah.
I need a success,
Of course.
in
Yeah.
every way.
Yeah.
And I think Chris knows that, and I'm sure you do, and I know Tina-Rae does, and Luke, if he was here, would agree. And of course you do too. So I have a very strong opinion here, and I'd like to have if Tina-Rae feels comfortable with it, I'd like to have Tina-Rae move it, and I would like to second it, which would be two things, Tina-Rae. One, that we would, as a group, raise $300,000 at a 3X. And the other thing is that we would give Chris, as our executive director, the board's permission to organize a group, including perhaps Mylene and Kira or others, to run a dog park on a land lease at Melody Place Farm. So I would need a mover, Tina-Rae, on those two items.
I move that because I think because we're in the early phases of the development of Melody Place, I feel that our shared energy is best put towards CMRR and this project with the dog park. Let's just repeat that and lease portions of the land so that we don't have to use our collective energy on that business. So if Mylene, Chris and Kira feel that you have the bandwidth to manage paw ground and still generate income for the property with land lease portions, I think that's best for the business at this point. And I I do think that we should raise more money too, because like you said, we don't want to run out of money. Yeah, the more money that we can spend to generate an income, the more income potential we have to create. So that I know I heard you say that it'll dilute our shares, but I also believe in what we're doing and our potential as a team to increase our value. So I move for both of those. Yeah.
Thank you. I would like to second it, and it's up to you, Mylene and Chris, whether you want to register a vote or you want to abstain.
Well, I think that there are two motions on the table. One is for the dog park to go ahead, and
Yep.
that I would prefer abstaining, and Chris, I'll let you do what you think. But for the raise in equity, I would vote for it. I would only ask that we specify the types of shares in the motion that we would be selling. Are they going to be voting shares or non-voting shares?
That's a great question. I think my own opinion, and can you see my screen okay, Mylene?
Yep.
Is that we would vote for a 3X $300,000 raise, and they would be pref shares. All right, so they would be non-voting. Most investors prefer preferred shares. They
Yeah.
don't want to vote. They just want to be told once a year, hey, we're making some money.
Yeah.
And here's a dividend. They don't
Well,
want to vote. And they also know if they have preferred shares, Mylene, and I know you know this, that if something bad happened, they would get paid out before the common shareholders, the voting shares.
okay.
So
I'm in agreement with that. I feel more comfortable with that.
okay.
Because
Those
I
were
don't,
good points.
yeah.
So Chris, I think Mylene's right. You should vote on that too.
So I was just going to say I want to vote on that. Agreed, and I would abstain from the dog park side of it.
Okay,
But
so
I mean, I agree with the sentiment for sure.
unanimous vote there. Thank you for that, Tina-Rae and everybody. And then on the I got to find the dog park. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Mylene, on the next agenda for next month, I'll I'll cut this down. Okay.
Okay.
I apologize.
Tell me why you two have chosen to abstain from voting on the dog park.
There is a potential conflict of interest because they're on both sides of the deal. Like Chris and Mylene are major shareholders in Melody Place Farm Inc., and they might be major shareholders in the dog park, right? And they're doing a deal. It's called self-dealing.
I mean, to your point, I mean, like everything that like I'm on board. I mean, if I really felt like that vote, yeah, would pull the weight, and it was I was not part of it, I would vote yes, absolutely. I like the idea, the lease model, And to Maline's point, I mean, the more things that we could do that maybe your exterior business people that want to come and take it over, that is going to bring in different types of people that might, oh, hey, I want a
Yeah.
garden plot. Cool. I had no idea that you guys had this. So I think it's a great point you brought up.
Is Luke going to have final voting power over the
No,
dog
if
park?
we have a quorum today, so it's passed, and he has to accept that if he can't come to a meeting, you can't vote on issues if you're not
Okay,
present, okay?
Right.
got it.
And he can give his proxy to somebody, Tina-Rae. Like, let's say there was something coming up here that he was deadly opposed to, like he didn't like the dog park. He could have said, given you his proxy, and you could have voted for him and for yourself.
Okay.
All right, but he didn't do that. I only found out he wasn't attending about an hour ago. Dog
So
park, land lease, moved. I'll just copy it from here, I guess. And I'll circulate this to everybody afterwards, Mylene, so you make sure everybody gets it.
I
Uh,
sent the original one too already via email a little
yeah,
earlier in the meeting.
yeah, good.
and
Uh,
it's not unanimous. Sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
I know that.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. I'm just detail oriented
Yeah, I
sometimes,
know you are.
right? Okay.
Abstentions, Chris O'Connell. And, oops. And by the way, both of you are dog lovers. I mean, Mylene has two crazy young dogs, and you have one that's a little older, I think.
Hey, she's 6 now. She's sleeping right
Yeah.
on the bed here.
All right.
Is
Okay.
spoiled, very spoiled.
I love, honestly, and this is being sarcastic, I love how you characterize my dogs, Bruce. That's
Well, they are full of beans.
well, yeah, but you said crazy, full of beans.
Oh, okay. All
Rambunctious
right. All
and
right. Next
crazy
time
are
I'll be
different.
careful. Oh, I better be careful. If you insult somebody's dog, it's like you insulted
It's
their
like a
mother.
child. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So can we go to the next thing? I think because I know Mylene is it's important to her and to all of us. In fact, I'll just go back. Let me just get out of this. I think we should look at this floor plan, and maybe Mylene, you can walk us through this floor plan.
Yeah. Can you make it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I am. I'm going to make it bigger.
but I won't be able to take control of it, so
No,
you'll do
unfortunately
it.
not.
Okay.
No, I've got it though. But if you could
So,
just talk us through it.
okay, what is missing is a connecting door that comes from the farmhouse. The farmhouse is attached on the top of the sketch, right? And the existing door from the farmhouse that goes into the summer kitchen would still be there. And we would
And
have,
Mylene, just so I understand, I'll move my cursor around. Is it up
yeah,
here somewhere?
yeah, it is up there. And the door is inward opening. So even if the washing machine is a little bit in the way, it won't be you don't need to put it in.
Yeah, I
Uh,
won't.
no, you don't need to put it in because I'll ask Mike to do that. So you basically have a corridor coming to the left, the 30-inch door at the top right-hand
Yeah.
corner. That's the area of the general amenities. So you come in to the left, you have a pocket door. Pocket doors
Oh, that's
everywhere
cool.
to save space. You have the toilet and vanity. At the end of the hall, you have a stacking washer dryer.
Hmm.
Just before that, you have the entrance to the shower room, again with a pocket door. So we save a lot of room in that. And then the micro suite is
Mylene, can I ask you a question?
yeah,
What is this up here?
washer dryer, stacking washer dryer.
So you come, do you have to be really skinny to get into the shower?
No, no, look at there's the pocket door right there, and all that area is part of the shower area.
This
So
whole thing here.
yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
And
I
so
just thought
there's
I might not fit.
no,
Tina
no,
Ray's
no, no,
pretty
no.
skinny.
No, no. The shower there's a wall between the washer dryer and the shower.
I get
The
it.
entrance, I mean, you need an area also. You don't want to be walking into the shower and then coming out into a public area. So you do have that area with probably a little bench
This
and
is
books and things
fantastic.
like that.
I love it. Okay, keep going.
And then Completely at the left-hand side of the drawing is the bathroom that belongs to the micro suite.
Right.
Now, these are going to be very small bathrooms, okay?
Yeah.
We understand each other. And so here we've got the pocket door is on the left-hand
Yeah.
side. You
Yeah.
walk in the area for the shower and then a very basic round toilet so that it's not elongated, and then a vanity at the very end. And the door to the shower opens again in the empty space.
Great.
And then I'm going to do the lower level first. The kitchen here, I've got one linear kitchen, but we might go, Mike is costing out what he can provide for kitchens. I'll show you if you want a photo of what I have in mind. $3,500 for a kitchen and that's just the cabinetry that suits a 10 by 10 kitchen. We don't want it 10 by 10. It's going to be too big, but we could even at $3,500 buy all those cabinets and not use them all. But the idea is either an L-shaped cabinet or the stove has to be on an outside wall because we want to vent it out directly. We don't want to add additional vents. And the sink will be on the inside wall backing that common area because all of the plumbing is going to be under that area. And so if we need to, underneath the floor, we can have an insulated channel with all the plumbing going through it. The fridge and the stove, I mean, the exact placement of them can be played around with depending on the configuration of the cabinets. And then if you look at the dotted line, it says loft overhang. There's going to be a loft, and the loft will come over the kitchen cabinets. And then the rest of the opening is going to be a cathedral ceiling.
Wow.
The loft is not very high, and I thought that there was more clearance up there, but basically all it's going to take is one bed. That's it. Somebody will be able to stand up at the peak of the roof, but I don't think that we're going to have enough clearance to put cabinets and whatnot in there. But it doesn't matter. It's a micro suite. It's the bed. It's the loft. It's up there. That's it. That's all. And we'll see what we can, the room that we'll have up there. But at least a queen size bed, there's not going to be a problem fitting it in there. And maybe.
Question for you, Mylene. Where do they hang when they come into the micro suite? Where do they hang their coats? Is there a coat a cupboard?
Well, I think one of two options, Bruce. We can let them buy their own IKEA cabinets, or we can simply put an IKEA cabinet. I wouldn't build anything in.
Okay. All right. And I think that given the kind of rent I think we're going to get, this is a very good plan in my opinion. I've seen lots of these, Mylene, and usually I can point out a few improvements. This is a very good plan, but I do think that you should budget for an IKEA coat cabinet, so you can come in the front door there and you can hang up your coat and put your boots somewhere.
Okay. He put the door coming out from the front and so the bottom, and we can't do that. I just noticed that today. I'm going to have him switch the windows and the door, put the door on the
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Well, we have no other choice because right in front of that is the laneway. So cars are there. We've got clearance there at all.
I think it's a better it'll be a better flow anyway.
Okay, and
So
then
if you follow what I would do, Mylene, is I think you would have the door open this way, swing this way,
yeah,
and that you'd have your IKEA cupboard here. You hang up your coat, close the door.
yeah. And then if you look at the stairs are not going to be a proper staircase. It's going to be. I'd like to share my screen if you'll allow me.
Of course. Just give me a second.
Because okay. Okay, you can see my screen now?
Yep.
Um, no, sorry. I know where I'm going to get it.
It's okay. Take your time. While you're looking for it, who is Mike?
Mike is the guy we're going with who's going to be building this. I can talk to you about him in a
Yeah,
minute.
I saw the difference in price. I think Mike was 70,000 and Mark was 120,000.
Yeah.
150.
150. Oh my God.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw it, but
yeah. Yeah, it went from 70,000 to 150,000.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Mylene has a better price. That's a huge difference. That's huge.
How did you find Mike, Mylene?
So, Mike is one of the contacts that I had from the neighbor, Fabien.
Okay.
So this is these are the stairs that are going to be going up. So you see how they're not full steps, they're alternating half steps.
Wow.
And so you reduce the depth of the stairs that you need. So it's a step ladder. It still is secure. We would probably have two handrails, but these are the kind of steps, one of the types of steps that you would find in a mini home. Okay?
Yeah, I think they're called cubby stairs.
Oh, whatever. Okay. Okay. But they're not attic stairs. There are attic stairs, or they, anyway, okay. I'm not going to go more than that. I'm going to stop sharing and you can put whatever you want on. So basically on that, I didn't share actually the quote. Do you want me to share the quote and to go through? Well, basically, let me not take more time. What we're going to have to buy are appliances. If we rent with appliances, we're going to
We
have to
have to rent
buy.
with appliances, yes.
Okay, so we have to buy appliances, we have to buy toilet shower vanities. The electricity is not included in there, but Mike works with an electrician. Chris gave me the name of an electrician who I met. I brought on board, and I'll talk to you, not brought on board, brought on site, and I'll talk to you about him later under another area. But Mike works with an electrician and he'd look after coordinating it. And believe me, that's a headache of less to have them coordinate.
100%.
And so we would have to pay for the electrician's time, the wiring, and the pot lights, and a fan, a ceiling fan. Well, he's going to try to put me in touch with somebody to put in an HVAC system, so a split heat pump, because we'll heat with electricity. And the other thing, Chris, that we didn't talk about is how to heat and refrigerate the common amenities, and we can put a second heat pump there, perhaps.
So can I comment on that, Mylene?
Yeah,
You're right. We want a reverse cycle heat pump,
yeah,
and you'll have one heat pump, reverse cycle heat pump outside, and it will feed two units. So one in the common area, one in the micro suite. Okay.
okay. So we would do the electricity then, and then
Yes,
factor that into the rent.
that is correct. And
Okay.
they're incredibly efficient.
Yeah.
And they provide wonderful cooling. So you know, we might, for this micro suite, we might get $1,800 to $1,900 a month for it. I know. I'm telling you, I got $1,350 a month for, you know, my Vanguard unit, which is really a POS, if you know what that stands for, guys.
No, piece of shit. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Bruce.
Yeah, it doesn't stand for a point of sale. It stands for a piece of garbage.
Okay.
Milena, if I told you how much it costs me so far to
I
fix
know.
that thing up,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. I paid $112,000 plus HST in June of 2023. Didn't get it until I stole it, you know, in November or October. And I've spent now $32,000 fixing it up, and I'm still working on it. It's not completely. For example, I mean, I don't mean to complain, but I am. They didn't insulate their intake pipes.
I know.
And so they're you know, it's -19 here today, Chris.
Yeah, I heard.
The
That's
poor lad
brutal.
who's in there, his pipes are frozen, so I've had to completely redo the plumbing in the middle of winter, and that costs a lot of money. So anyway, but the good news is these reverse cycle heat pumps are very efficient. They're run by electricity.
Yeah.
One heat pump will certainly run at least 2 units, if not three. If you needed three, you
Yeah.
could put 3 units in.
Yeah, no, you're right, and I will discuss that. Mike is really good. He knows that we want to minimize cost, and he is staying, low cost. He's giving me options, but even the kitchen cabinets, I said, listen, Mike, I can get for a 10 by 10 kitchen $3,500 from a company in Toronto. Yes, we'll have to pay for the transport, but it's not that much. And I said, can you match it? So he's looking into that for me. The windows and doors, we would have to pay for the interior pocket doors, but the windows and exterior doors, he's got, as a contractor, he orders the wrong thing, then he's got to order a new stuff, whatever, and he'll sell them to us if we're interested at cost price. So I'm waiting for the
Right.
cost on that. And so that would reduce somewhat the cost estimate that we have now. The other thing too, the other consideration is that we're putting an awful lot more plumbing strain on the septic and well.
Yeah.
So he's got a septic guy that is going to come. I'm hoping on the 30th of June. Chris is going to come out to the farm with me and take a look, go in the basement, take a look at the septic system. There are recurrent problems with the bathtub in the farmhouse. It keeps
Yeah.
clogging. And I suspect it's either, deep in clogs or from the inspection report, from what I understand, all the gray water goes in through the sump pump. And I don't think A, that it's kosher. I don't know where the sump pump empties. But B, there's no filtration there, so it might just be clogged. Or C, it might be that the bathtub in particular doesn't have enough of a slope in the pipes. So Mike is going to take a look at that for me on the 30th. And the other thing I would like for us to consider is I think that the black water, so he's going to have his septic guy come. I'm going to ask him to look at the septic system. We know that we have to do the septic field. I'm not sure we have to do the tank itself. I don't know what the capacity of the tank is, but if it can go to a 2 or 3 bedroom capacity, we might be okay putting in the micro suite for the black water going into the septic tank. For the gray water, what I suggest is that we consider buying a filtration system that would filter the water before it goes into the sump pump, and so it would hold on any of the debris, the hair, any of that stuff, and get a system that would accommodate, 2 sets of washer dryers, 3 bathrooms, and 2 kitchens. And they run at about between, well, just to be on the safe side, $4,000. But it's a hell of a lot cheaper than having to redo the whole septic system. And the other thing too is, shoot, I'm hoping, Alex didn't call me back, but there's a lot of cold because the summer kitchen is now completely open. There's freezing cold weather, temperatures that go into that little door that leads to the basement of the house. And I asked her to buy some insulation and just put plastic and just, put it on that door. So I'm hoping, I'm not in town now, but I'm hoping that we're not going to have any problems with the piping in the farmhouse, in the basement of the farmhouse.
So Mylene, do we have an upset budget for this? I mean, for the summer kitchen makeover, for the electrician, for the septic system and the gray water, do we know what you think the upset limit is?
I'm working on that. I think Chris suggested, or you suggested 20,000 extra. So to bring it up to 90, but I would go up to 30,000. So 100,000 all in all for all of the project at the very top limit. But I'm working really hard to keep the cost down. So, for example, getting appliances on special, maybe even getting secondhand appliances from KGG if they're in good shape, stuff like that. And go with the low-end shower, low-end vanity, low-end toilets, as long as they're robust enough.
Quality enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would suggest here, if Tina-Rae, if you're in agreement, is that if you feel comfortable, Tina-Rae, we would you would move it, I would second it. We would approve an upset limit of $100,000 for all of these improvements that Mylene and Chris have been talking about, I think, for some weeks now. I have to tell you, I just did a very quick calculation at $1,800 a month, Tina-Rae. Multiplying that by 12 and then taking off, 34% for the operating expenses. If we spend $100,000 on these improvements, it would give us a 14.2% cap rate on this. I can tell you, if I sent my contractors down to do this, and my wife, it would be $150,000, Chris.
Yeah.
Look, my contractors are very good, but it wouldn't be $100,000 for this work. I know this from experience. It would be $150,000 for sure. If I sent my Belleville contractors, there'd be $300,000. God forbid. So Tina-Rae, I don't know if you're comfortable with that, but I think this is an excellent way to improve the experience of the farmhouse, because they now have a second bathroom. To improve the septic system and the gray water system, as Mylene has described, to provide us with another $1,800. Maybe we'll get $1,850 for it, something like that, and a 14 or maybe even a 15% cap rate. Are you comfortable approving it, moving it? Excuse me, Tina-Rae?
I just have a couple of questions, Mylene. I'm sure you've done your homework on Mike and you've seen some of his work or gotten references. Have you?
I haven't seen his work. He's a legitimate contractor.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah, he said, he's registered. He can give us invoices. The other advantage with him is he asked me, he said, so you've got building permits for all of this. And I kind of looked at him and said, not really. He said, oh,
No.
not a problem. You guys are set away from the road. Nobody's going to know. I'm okay. I have no problem. I said, yeah, but you can invoice us. Oh, yes, no problem. I'm registered. I can invoice you the whole bit. So Tina-Rae, I really like this guy. I've dealt with a lot of contractors. I like this guy. So no, I haven't gone to see the work that he's done elsewhere. But
Have you spoken with anyone that he's done work for?
no, I can ask him. I can ask
Okay.
him. I haven't done that. I haven't felt the need to do that.
Okay.
He's got a full team. He's got a legitimate business.
Okay.
And the most important thing is that he's on board and
Mhm.
he understands that this is not $1 million home. This is, an addition, and he
Okay.
understands our circumstances. He's willing to work with me to keep the cost down.
Okay.
He works with a legitimate plumber, a legitimate electrician. So, the guy's got a business, so he can't.
Why? How can he come in so much cheaper?
Because he knows what he's doing, and because he is working with us, Tina-Rae.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I think that Mark, we had a whole lot of pulling hairs to try to get a cost estimate, and at the beginning he just said, "Oh, 75,000, that's it." But in actual fact, the homework hadn't been done. And I know that Mike has taken the time to cost out the materials, and we know things are clear, transparent in terms of what we need to buy and what he's going to provide. So
Okay.
I'm confident with that.
Okay. I trust you and your intuition. I do think that we should go for secondhand appliances wherever we can. There's a company I deal with off Maryvale called Brian's Appliances. We can check out. They
Cool.
offer a 3-month warranty. I think, yes, as simple as possible with nice subway tile in the kitchen and even bathroom. So yeah, keeping costs down.
Yeah, we have to provide the flooring, but I'm suggesting we go with vinyl planks because they're completely waterproof and
Mhm.
super stupid easy to install.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
installation will already be included in the price, he said.
Okay.
But if we go
Great.
with tile and ceramic or wood or whatever, it's going to up the price.
Okay. And my next question was about the cubby stairs if they're going to be up to code. But okay, so am I to understand that we're not getting a building permit for this?
Oh God,
And
no.
he's still okay with providing us invoices?
He is absolutely okay with it. So, you know, he works with that. He's okay. You know, Tina-Rae, this is a rural guy, and he does this sort of thing. It's like I was
Mhm.
telling Chris, it's like at the cottage. I deal with a company who's a legitimate company, but the prices are lower when well, no, they do it off the books. He's not doing it off the books, but he's a lot more flexible, and he understands this is not a
Mhm.
top whoop-de-doo,
Mhm.
home.
Okay. And I'm always concerned about our liability in the unfortunate event that anyone is hurt there. So is there any way that our insurance company could say, we're not covered for someone falling down those stairs, let's say?
Well, it covers our insurance policy does cover the entire structure on the house on it. So, I mean, we do have that, and we have, I think it's 2 million plus in liability. So we have quite an umbrella on it.
Okay. Um,
I think these were excellent questions, Tina-Rae.
Mm.
Mylene, what is Mike's last name?
Roland.
Okay.
WLAND.
Yeah.
Rowland. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So I think I think Mylene, Tina-Rae has asked you to talk to one or two of Mike Rowland's clients just to
Yeah.
get a feel for how working with him made sense.
Yeah.
I would share Tina-Rae's concern about one thing, which is the cubby stairs. The one thing that I worry about is somebody's upstairs and they've been drinking and they come down in the
Mhm.
middle of the night because they have to go to the bathroom and they fall down that stairs. And so the one area of liability that I would be concerned with, Tina-Rae, would be maybe you and Mike could look at those cubby stairs one more time to see if because I'm not sure if that I understand the half stair makes sense because it does it does reduce the area, but if you look at the room that you've created here, Mylene, can you see my cursor moving around?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just saying if you were to double the width of this thing, okay, if you were to double it, it really isn't going to make any difference to the enjoyment of the great room.
Well, it is and it isn't, Bruce, because that's barely about 9 feet that you're going to have across. If you double it, don't forget that you also have to lengthen that. So those stairs are going to eat into the overhead of
No,
the
no, if
kitchen.
you double it, it's just you're doubling the width, that's all.
But it's not just the width. If you want to do it to code, you'd have to,
No, I'm not talking about doing it to code. I'm just talking about doubling the width so that you're not
Oh,
doing these
okay,
half stairs.
okay, okay. Well,
So it would be a
sure.
it would be a double of the width, but a full stair. It'd still be cubby stairs, but that's how they do it in the tiny home business. They don't, I did take a picture of your picture, if you can see here on the
Yeah,
screen.
yeah.
That's the only thing that gave me pause.
Okay.
I would double the width of that, and I do understand that you're eating into this room a little bit, but
Yep.
I don't mind cubby stairs. We have them in tiny houses. I mean, they the Noble that Ron and Michelle bought, they have cubby stairs in them. For somebody my age, I could not safely navigate that.
Yeah, but you also wouldn't live in a loft
No,
situation.
I agree with that, but what I'm saying is I do share Tina-Rae's concern, and I think that's something that you and Mr. Rowland can deal with. So what I have written down here, excuse me, as an upset limit of 100,000 for these rentals that you've been talking about. Moved by Tina-Rae, seconded by me, unanimously approved. And with the things that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Are we all in favor of this? Is there any other concerns?
Seems
All in
good.
favor?
Aye, yes.
Aye, thank you. Those were really excellent points, Tina-Rae.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing I think we might deal with is you have a new site plan, I think, that you circulated to me early this morning.
Yeah.
Mylene, I'll see if I can get to it. Is it?
I have it up here
Uh,
too, Bruce, if you need.
Okay, well, if you don't mind,
Bruce, wait. I really need to go to the washroom 2 minutes. I'm going to put myself on mute. Can you take another thing? I just need a minute, okay? But I can't do this if I don't go to the
you
washroom.
go and do what
Thank
you
you.
do. That's
I'm in the
you.
same boat. I'll be right back. But Bruce,
All
I
right,
can
go
share my
ahead. Yeah,
screen if you want.
no
Yep.
problem at all.
Here we go.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to go get myself a little bit more water. I need it.
Okay, Bruce. Drink a big glass.
Yeah, I will.
Chris, are you living here?
Not right now.
Are you planning to? Because there were a couple things you said like that made me think you were going to live here.
Yeah, there's a
What's that?
I'll definitely be up more probably this year. So we're still kind of working through that.
Okay. And Kira lives here.
She does, yeah, and she would ideally
Okay.
like to actually live on the farm.
Okay.
Um, you know, she's trying to figure out what's going to make the most sense. Like, would she buy a tiny home? Would she just rent it from one of us? If I guess the linchpin is she has two dogs that are pretty decent size. So when I come up, I'm actually coming up end of next week. We're going to do an
Oh,
on-site
good.
visit,
Okay.
and she's going to look at the Noble, see if it's big enough,
Okay.
and then kind of make a determination from there. But she's somewhat in the area too, so even if she wasn't on site, not a deal breaker, but she definitely would ideally like
Okay.
to have that.
Okay. And if the tiny
Yep.
home's not big enough, she could always add one of those domes to the back of it and make that
Right,
the dog room for
right,
them.
yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that'll be helpful to see, like Ron and Michelle have on there. Is like, yeah, look, you could do this, you could do a
Yeah.
dome, you could do a few things here with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Um, The other side is, look, I like her, so far, and I don't want to shake the apple cart too much, but we did do a 6 month lease with Alex, who's in the actual farmhouse, and I mean, she's sort of taken it upon herself to do a few things. Like, I mean, she almost feels like the farm, all the land is hers, if you will. She's actually done what we want to put the dog park on is something called Sniff Spot. And I think she actually already did that a few times, which we sort of told her, hey, like, if you're running a whole side business, that's a whole different thing. And really, you're not allowed to do that. So, there is going to be a 6 month feeling out period. And, who knows? We can make a decision there if we, want to keep her or if there's somebody who might be better suited. But again, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. Yeah. Or maybe we just need to put some an amendment to the lease to say that she's not allowed to do anything on the property. And sniff spot, that's a great idea. Because my friend that lives here actually rents out some of the space on Sniff Spot. So yeah,
Oh,
that's a
cool.
popular app. And my other
Yeah.
question when we were talking about paw ground was going to be, has anyone done any market research to see what the closest competing dog park would be in the area?
Yeah, yeah. So at least I did it on Sniff Spot, and realistically, anywhere in a 25-mile to 30-mile radius is just a non-fenced. It's like people just have a lot of land, and it's like,
Oh,
hey, come out and here you go.
okay.
So there isn't really, even if you go into Ottawa, a lot of it's either a fenced in area or the majority of it is unfenced. And then you don't get any amenities, so to speak. I mean, there's no agility
Mm,
park for the dogs. There's really no like shade area or water area in the summer. Nobody has like a little bit of vending area or a covered portion for people that come and want to just hang out and sit there. So we definitely want to make it a little bit more of an upscale type situation. And really, there is nothing even close to the south side of Ottawa that has anything like that.
mm. I think
That
it's
I've,
all a wonderful idea. And
yeah,
My client out in Vancouver, Tina-Rae, who runs her own dog park just outside of Vancouver, she can get up to 80 to 100, sometimes 120 dogs a day, and because it's BC,
crazy.
it's ridiculously expensive. It's like $25 or something like that a dog. And if you look at that, if she gets 80 dogs. She told me her numbers. It's like she'll get like $1,500 to $2,000 a day,
That's
and it's like a
insane.
320 day a year business. I mean, she's open even on Christmas Day, but there are days when it's less busy. But it's ridiculous.
Mhm. Is there, I don't know how common this would be, but just a thought. Like I love the idea that we're giving a 6 month grace period to whoever leases the land to get the business up and running. Is there some way that we could incorporate like a percentage increase in rent with the increase in income?
Yeah, that's called a percentage rent. And if I wasn't talking to Chris and maybe Mylene and Kira, if it was Bill Smith, I would have put in probably anywhere from a 4 to 6% percentage rent, so that if they're making $300,000 a year, we would do better. And with somebody other than Chris and Mylene and Kira. I would have put in a 3 month rent-free period rather than six. I mean, we did the same thing for Luke and Jen. Listen. This is just me talking about Tina-Rae. I can I can hit up Chris and everybody for a percentage rent. That's not unheard of. In fact, it's very common, and it's a great idea. I just didn't do it because
I
I'm
These
mean,
not
to
a
your
big
point,
guy.
Bruce, I mean, if we hit a certain goal, like, I mean, if we could pump this thing between everything, 300 grand a year, I
Yeah.
mean, I think there could be a threshold where
Yeah,
then,
I think
yeah, I
that would
think
be
some
fair.
part of that goes into the
Tina
business.
Ray,
Yeah.
I think I might let me just give that a little bit of thought. Like all the stuff that you've seen today, these are placeholder numbers, and again, if for some reason Kira and Chris and Melinda decide not to do it, I'll just advertise it on Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace. I'll find somebody who'll do it, and for sure I'll put in a percentage rent. But I think that's fair, Chris. That
Yeah.
what I might do, Chris, is anything over 150,000 per year, I might put in a 5% percentage rent.
Right. Right. I mean, I'm for that because again, I want the success of all this to, in a sense, go back to the farm too. If there's success there, I think that should be shared, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think, I think that's a great idea, Tina, right? Typical of you.
Mhm.
No, I mean it. That's really
Yeah, absolutely
so
true.
if they do 150,000, the percentage rent is zero. But if they did 300,000 a year in revenues, then on the extra 150,000, the farm would get 5% of that, which would be $7,500. That would really help us for sure. And as the
Okay.
business is more successful, then we go on from there. All
Mhm,
right.
mhm.
Is Mylene there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So thanks for that, Chris and Tina-Rae. So on the screen here is the most recent, I think, site plan.
Right.
And Melinda, do you want to just take us through it, please?
Yeah. So, before we look at the overall site plan, I just want to look in the bottom left-hand corner. I try to reproduce the existing buildings and to situate the additional buildings in a larger, scale. The reason why I want to do that is during my last visit with the with Marshall, the electrician that Chris put me in touch with, we noticed. Can you can you put up the whole paper, please? No, yeah. Well, okay, that's good. So you see the house, bottom left right hand, you see the garage, you see the little existing kennel building and the barn. And between the house and the garage, there's a little circle with dotted lines. So yeah, that on that circle at the bottom, that's where the meter is, and that's where the inlet or incoming wires are. There's a wire that goes to the house to a 200 amp panel, a separate wire that goes to the kennel to a 100 amp panel, and there's also a separate wire that continues onto this little 10 by 10 shed annexed to the barn in the back with a very old fuse box. But the electrician thinks that we can replace it with a 100 amp wire. So I taking that into consideration, and also, a few other considerations, I would suggest the following. And I've also got a worksheet that I can look through with you, and we can make some decisions on it. So let's move then to the big scale. Oh, I'm sorry. And also come on the small scale in front of the barn. That's where the Rocky unit is, the Vanguard unit there. And basically the water and the electricity come from the house and have been dug underground to that. And I raise that because if we consider Jessica, there would be certain considerations to take into account and conditions.
Who's Jessica?
A friend of Mark and Luke's who has a Vanguard unit who wants to bring it on site.
Okay.
So if we look at the large scale again, at the bottom, so the front of the property, no change there. We would have the canteen, we would have the orchard and picnic tables. And I was also thinking, the last time I went there are, those two greeneries, they're all pine trees with mixed bush in there. But if we clean those out, we could have really nice picnic spots there. So that would be something also to consider. The road would be the same as was put in the past. So the parking along the tree line and the garden plots would move from the river towards the back of the property. What I added on there are possible 100 square foot, 3-season bunkies with no utilities. Now we are going to need for the garden plots, for the canteen, some latrines. I know, Bruce, you had given me the reference, but I couldn't find it. Are those latrines, the upscale latrines, are they standalone latrines or are they hooked onto septic systems?
I'll show you what they look like.
They look beautiful, but I just didn't know what the hookup was.
I'll get it. I can find it, I think. Let's see if I can find it.
I'm just putting my heater on in my room because it's cold. If it's too hummy, let me know.
Listen, none of you beat the weather, the temperature that I have up here. I'm at minus 27 up here.
It was minus 30 this
Oh my
morning
God.
here.
Oh, that's with the wind chill factor, yeah?
No,
Oh
that
my
was
God,
my
it is
God.
colder
No.
then. It is colder. Unless
Yeah.
it's changed over here, but
Yeah.
it is cold.
While everybody was taking a break, you can feel sorry for me again. Another one of our apartments, the guy, my property manager was calling me, the pipes froze there too.
Oh
shit.
my
We had
God.
icicles. So we got lots of issues to deal with today. So this is Jabulani Winery, Mylene.
Okay, you need to share your screen.
Oh, I'm
Oh
not
yeah, here, let
sure.
me stop. Yeah, let me
Yeah,
stop
okay.
sharing mine.
Sorry about
Yep.
that. I could see it.
Yeah, weird. I
Uh,
saw it too. That's weird.
Yeah, so this is Jabulani Winery. It's actually quite a beautiful winery and wedding center. You can see there's some buildings here and pagodas here, what have you. But what really blew my mind when I went there is, I mean, you got to remember these are bridezillas, right? That they're dealing with. They're dealing with brides who are quite demanding. And inside the winery, it's very beautiful. They have nice bathrooms and everything else. But when they have 300 people there and 150 of them are women, they need an overflow bathroom. So what they do is they have a number of these very small sheds, Mylene, that look like this. They look very nice.
Yeah.
And these are composting toilets, right? So
Okay.
what they work fine. They have a sinks and you can wash your hands, but there's a foot pump, so you have to pump the water and then you wash your hands. These are composting toilets. They have an exhaust vent. These are not outhouses. These are not latrines. These are
Yeah, no, I
actually
get it. Yeah.
quite decent, and
Yeah.
they're completely self-contained, right?
Yeah.
So the water, even from your hands, in Quebec, you're allowed to just let it run over the grass, or you can put it into a gray water pit, or you can just put it into a holding tank.
Okay. So that'll work then. If you want to go back to
I
the
will.
thing. So I'm going to talk
Oh,
about the utilities. I'll share my worksheet for the utilities. I'm not finished, but I'll do that separately.
This is what you want to
can you
write,
see?
Mila?
Can you see my
Or
screen? Okay.
oh, whoops,
Yeah,
sorry,
but
it's probably me.
no, I preferred okay, I preferred Chris's because it was bigger.
Okay, Chris, why don't you
Yeah,
take over
sure,
again?
sure. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Okay. We're going to need some sort of washrooms over here at some point, depending on how many garden plots we have. And so what I was thinking is we can have 3-season latrines. And just for now, don't forget that we have the river, so we can have non-drinking water pumped out for 3 seasons into the latrines for hand washing with a gray water system. And same thing with the canteen, pump out the water 3 seasons because the canteen is not going to be a 4-season deal. It would be too costly at this stage.
100%
And
agree
then
with that.
for drinking water for the canteen, we can always look at a tank reservoir that we put above the roof or something, and just a long hose just filling up that tank with drinking water if we need. But, hand washing, stuff like that. The other thing too is we can use, but we'd have to check this, we can use the river water with a UV filtration system might also work. So anyway, those are ideas, feasible, low cost. We wouldn't have to have septic systems and everything. And that would service the garden plots, the picnic areas that are in the front fields. If you move then over to the back fields, because we're going to have, if we change the 100 amp box and change the overhead wire, the incoming wire to suit a 200 amp box, then we might be able to have a piggyback panel to service the 4 tiny homes that will be here now. And these are all the workshop bunkies that we want. And I'm suggesting we have another set of, say, a row of 4 washrooms over here. And they're going to be in proximity. So, if we have a septic system, water, everything is going to be in proximity. We can feed all of the plumbing, even maybe to the entire row of these bunkies, workshops, and a washroom, say a 3 or 4 cubby washroom. And all the rest, so all of the bunkies over here, all of the buildings here would not have water. Exception for consideration for the kennel, we could either retrofit this kennel, the existing kennel, it's got a 100 amp wire coming in. The only problem with that is that there's no direct access to the 1 or 2 acre dog park. And why do we want it over here is because A, it's at the back of the property. Noise is going to be an issue with the dogs barking all the time. And we've got fencing around the perimeter at this area, around the perimeter of the property. So it would allow to have add just 2 more fences to close off the 2 acres. If whoever runs the kennels would look at building a kennel, and I just thought about this. I haven't even talked to Chris about it. That would be another option. Or you have the kennels over here. You just have a bunkie over here for the vending machine, sitting area, etc. And you just take the dogs that you're boarding for the day, you take them to the back kennels is another option. Why I'm talking about that is I think that for the kennel, it would also be good to have a doggy wash system. And for that, we would need gray water. And again, it could be, the current tank is over here in front. Sorry, I'm using my cursor. You guys don't see it. The current tank is in front of the kennel. Well, kind of between the kennel and the house. And again, being a gray water system, we can buy a filtration system, or whoever runs the kennel can do buy the filtration system.
Someone's at my door. I'll be right back. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
The only thing is, if we take the kennels to the back, we're going to have to add, say, another connection with a 100 amp panel over there, or maybe less. The RV storage is still at the very back of the property, and then additional how do you call them? Overload storage, parking would be at the back. I also am thinking of an outdoor kitchen. I love, the potential tenant that you mentioned, Bruce. And it would really be nice to have, I don't know, possibility of having picnic seating area right around the walnut groves with an outdoor kitchen, outdoor fireplace, just a sitting area, a nice little sitting area. Yes, the dogs are there, but if there is a building in front of the dogs, the dog park, that might attenuate some of the noise. What else is there? I think that that's it for there. Now, I don't know if you followed up on the wedding planning thing. If your daughter does, photo shoots, I think that throughout the property we can have some photo shoot areas. Flowers, flowering trees, whatever. And rent them out.
So, Mylene, I think that your original idea was excellent. I think the canteen and the picnic area at the front is the ideal spot for that.
Yeah, but what concerns me about that is that if it's leased, then people from the garden plots aren't really going to be allowed to go. Or no, you can have a photo shoot area there. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean
Absolutely.
we are the landlords. We get to say what happens with our
Yeah.
land.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
the canteen is there and the picnic area is there, which I love that, we can say, and they're going to want. I mean, imagine if you had 30 people from the wedding party come and take pictures there. I mean, that's just more clients for the canteen, and that's where it goes, in my opinion. I have to say, Mylene, you have a very, very good hand at this. This is a really, really good site plan. I don't really have any other comments other than it's really great. The one question I do have, though, is and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, if we did accept Jessica and her husband Dustin, where would we put their Vanguard unit?
Okay, so for right where your hand is now, your cursor, come down a little bit there. The reason for that is that there is between the garage and the barn, there is a road, a pathway that would go out to the back to the fields.
Correct.
But there's also one between the garage. Of course, this isn't per scale, but between the garage and the house is where the cars park. And there's another one that goes from there to the backfields.
So can you just put your hand one more time, Chris? It's right there. Is that right, Mylene?
Yeah, but there are considerations with that. So the front of the Vanguard, the Rocky, is on the right-hand side of that's the deck that's on there, and that's a
That's right.
pretty big deck that's on there.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is big. Chris, where your hand is, that's the front of the Vanguard unit. In other words, where it hooks up. And that's where all the utilities come in. And to put also a unit, you have to be able to drive out in front of it. And so the position of Jessica's Vanguard is going to have to be studied. But if we put it there, then I would not be in favor. I'll tell you straight up, I would not be in favor of digging that whole stuff up again to put in a water inlet and electricity. I think from now on, if we're doing any of this, we should have pipes underground and then run the wires and the pipes inside, so we don't have to re-dig. We can just fish them in from one end to the other. But so if we don't do that, Marshall, the electrician, said perhaps we can use the existing wire that goes to Rocky. It wouldn't be of enough, it's not the right grade to support two complete Vanguard units. However, if we change either the HVAC system or the water heating system, I think he said he would have to look at that more. It was freezing cold. He just said it quickly. If we change one or the other to gas, to propane, then we would be able to split the electricity going to Rocky and just connect it to Jessica's Vanguard unit. But they'd have to agree to switch to propane for some of the high demand appliances. And then, that would be additional costs incurred by them. So that's that. And then we'd have to study, like I said, where it would be or how it would be situated, because you want the front to be to the open area, but you also have to be able to drive away. So it might be at right angles to Rocky, uh, and, facing towards Rocky. You wouldn't have as much intimacy, but and there's not really that much room there. There is, but not that much. So that might be one possibility. There's no way we can put it on the other side of Rocky because the road that goes to the back, there's no clearance there. And we
Could you
also,
put it below Rocky? Just if you move, yeah, in that area.
well, you'd have to discuss that with Luke, because Luke chose that spot because of the view.
Yeah, I
Because
get that.
remember I thought we had agreed that it would be in front of the garage. But he's put it there because of the view.
All right, so
So,
let me share my screen with you guys. All right.
okay,
I'm just gonna do that.
Sure.
Okay, that we don't need that. So this is Jessica and Dustin's Vanguard unit. This is they call it My Bluebell Cottage, and Jessica and Dustin have done a very good job with it. It's well decorated inside. She's done a great job marketing it, but she's very unhappy with the Hammond Hill folks. So they want to pull it from Hammond Hill and bring it to the farm. I wasn't sure where it's going to go, so there's Rocky. I just put in a placeholder. I had no idea, Mylene, so I just put it in here. But obviously, that will change. And here's what I'm thinking in terms of a land lease, similar to what we did with Luke. It would be a 5-year agreement. It would start very low, $350 per month. Plus HST for year one. Year two would be 550, year three, 575, year four, 600, year five, 650, because that's where we want to get to 650 plus HST. And there would be a contribution to power which we're getting from Luke and Jen, $40 a month, increasing each year by 3.5%. The one thing that Dustin did ask me, and this is not unusual, again, I don't know if the board will agree to it, but they asked for a leasing inducement. Like you, Mylene, and I think Chris as well, I was caught off guard when we got invoices from Luke and from his brother Mark for $12,000, which I've been paying, for the services, connecting to services. And I know you did your best, Chris, dealing with Luke. He is a shareholder, and so obviously we want to accommodate him. But we ended up, guys, with a $12,000 bill that we didn't expect, which we have now. I think I paid over $12,000 already to Mark, and there's still a few thousand more to go. But they'll have taken $18,000 from us over the last month or so. For their requirements. And had I known, and I don't mind, Luke will watch this and he'll know, but had I known that we were going to end up eating those costs, I would not have done a deal at $350 a month. I think that it reflected something different. Anyway, that's now past history. It's ancient history. But what I did talk to Dustin and his wife Jessica about is that our contribution to their hookups would be limited to $2,500. That isn't unreasonable, in my opinion. I've done lots of leasing, and what I think we want to recognize here, you guys, is that and I know not everybody maybe agrees with me, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to build momentum. And I think I may have said that, I know I've said it to Chris. When I started with the barn dominium project, the very first tenant I got for a workshop, I charge $700 a month plus HST plus power for workshops today. These are small workshops of 200 square feet. But back then, I had this crazy Russian and Kurdish guy. I liked them. They offered me, I think, $250. I said, a deal. And it was just to get some action going. And then within the next 6 weeks or 8 weeks, I rented all the other workshops at the asking price, but the very first clients got ridiculously low prices. So by having Luke there with his Vanguard and hopefully a tenant starting on February 1st, and then Jessica with her husband having the Vanguard there, I think it does benefit the farm. And Tina-Rae, because you weren't part of the last discussion we had, we're treating these Vanguards, because they're so small, as if they were ATCO trailers.
What does that mean?
ATCO trailers are like site trailers you see at every construction site around the United States and Canada, right?
Right,
So
right.
let's say you were an architect and you're going for a site visit and it's -20. You don't want to be outside with your plants. You want to be inside with the engineers and the foremen and the project managers and the development managers talking about what your guys are doing. And then you go out and brave the cold. So we're going to treat them as ATCO trailers that happen to have a bed in them. Right, but they're really, and that's one of the reasons why they're very close to the barn and the workshop, et cetera. Because if anybody ever asks us, they're just office trailers. And sure enough, by the way, ATCO trailers, lots of them have a couch in there. If you're doing a double shift and you're just too tired, you can go and take a nap for a half an hour or an hour. So we're going to treat those as that. Those do not count against our 4 mobile homes or 4 nobles or whatever they might be.
But the intention of them is to have people living in them 24/7.
They're going to be people living in them for sure.
Okay.
And I did send to everybody. I mean, I'm not going to go through it again. It's in the agenda about this. This is just typical. I have now 108 or 109 subscribers to my tiny house CRM. And this is very typical of what I get. This guy grows chili peppers and he provides all kinds of pre-prepared foods. He needs a workshop, he needs a garden, and he also needs a tiny house, right? So this is a pretty typical kind of request that I get, and the Vanguard would be perfect for this guy, right? And then he asked me, do you have any suggestions for additional, sort of bolt-ons that I can add? I do a lot of coaching. So these days, I just asked ChatGPT for some complimentary services, Tina-Rae. And ChatGPT is friggin' brilliant. They talked about pre-prepared foods that you can make out of chilies. I won't go read it all to you. Complementary product lines like pepper-based snacks, uh, bundling and gift options like, I don't know, limited edition, holiday specials, peppers lovers gifts, hot sauce samplers. I mean, it's just beautiful. Experiential add-ons, cooking classes, farm tours. I mean, all the things that a good operator would work on. Then it said brand expansion. You're gonna have T-shirts, and you can partner with local bakeries and breweries or restaurants to feature your peppers. You can do subscription boxes if you know what those are. A monthly
Yes, that's
subscription.
CRMM, right?
Exactly. Oh my God, yes. And marketing, it's just all kinds of really, really cool stuff. I mean, I can't believe, I wrote a whole trilogy in 2013 about AI, right, called Quantum Entity. I've talked about it before. And I started to see this artificial intelligence maturing in the 2040s. And here we are in the 2020s. This thing is just incredible. But I mean, this is the kind of person that would be in Jessica's Vanguard unit, and he would have a workshop, and he would have a garden, and he would have a tiny house. It's the ideal customer for us. All right, so I've got a couple other things I'd like to show you. Better get out of this just for a second.
Yeah, but before we move on,
Yeah.
on Jessica's, one of the things that I'd like for us to decide on today, Bruce, I'm sorry, is the pads versus the pylons.
I beg your pardon?
The pads versus the pylons, the piles, the screw
Yeah.
piles, whatever.
Yeah.
I
So Mylene,
Yeah.
if I go back to Dustin and Jessica, and I say you're going to have to spend a considerable amount of money on piles, I think the deal will be at an end. The area that it's going in, where it's close to Rocky, Luke and Jens, it's almost certainly going to be cheaper to do a gravel pad.
Well, Bruce, I don't agree with that. It costs $12,000 to do a gravel pad, 40 tons of rock, 40 tons, and it's left the site a mess. And it's going to have to be worked on next spring to level it off to get it back to the green that it was. I don't know why you think that the screw piles are so expensive. They're $450 a screw pile. You need four for the Rocky. That's under
These things are pretty
$2,000.
heavy. These things are pretty heavy. They weigh 21,000 pounds.
Yes, but I've spoken to an engineer. I've spoken to an engineer to look at, remember what I was looking at, the pod?
Yeah,
It's
I
bigger
remember
than
those.
this.
Yeah.
It's bigger than this and it's heavier than that. And they said 4 to 6 pylons,
Yeah, 4 to 6 is right.
$450 each. For the Noble, we're talking about 8 pylons.
Correct.
And it's well documented. I mean, screw piles, you can put them in, take them out. You don't have to dig under. We don't have to dig into the loamy soil. And it doesn't have to be a permanent connection. I can't find the picture of the Nobles, but it's basically a flat, we would put on the top of the screw pile a flat metal plaque that would receive, yeah, you see the pylons that are the things that are sitting on brick? They're the levelers, the level
They're the
feet.
levelers. Yeah.
Yeah. So the pylon, the head of the pylon, the top of the pylon would replace just the brick. It wouldn't be attached directly to the home. It just is a pad. And I spoke to Simon about that. I said, can you work with your screw pile guy to get the screw piles laid exactly where you need to have the jacks, basically the jacks that they would put on top of a pad. And I really think it's a viable option. And
Okay. Let me interrupt you there because we're getting on to 2 hours. Um, you're very convincing, Mylene.
I know I am. I
Yeah.
believe in this.
Well, yes, I understand that. You put your case forward very well. So what I'm going to suggest is I I have contacted a second supplier of tiny homes, right?
Yep.
This is the guy I mentioned earlier when we just started this meeting. His name is Mitch Lacoste. I'll make this a little bigger. And he runs his tiny home manufacturing business in Chrysler, which, as I mentioned, is 23 minutes from the farm. So it's quite close to the farm. The one that you see here is probably similar in size, I think, to the Noble. It's called the
What's it?
Riley Edition, and their website says it starts at 178,000 Canadian dollars, which is a little less than Humble Creek. But when they say starting at, if they say, oh yeah, but it doesn't include any appliances, it doesn't include your bathroom, it doesn't include an engine, so to speak. You never know what that really means. So I would take that with a grain of salt. Here's what I would suggest for the group. Um, I always wanted to have a second supplier. I don't want to be dependent just on Humble Creek. I think we should have a second supplier. And as I said, when we started this meeting, I thought that was going to be a small living company, but that didn't work out. So I have organized a visit to the farm on February 9th for this couple. Her name is Lori, and the other woman, her name is Lynn. And they're coming to the farm at 1 p.m. and they're either going to buy a Noble or they might buy one of these tiny homes from Mitch. His company's called MMRH Tiny Homes. Really a terrible name, but anyway, MMRH Tiny Homes. Ron and Michelle are coming because they know Lori and Lynn and they get along well. I'm going to be there. I don't know if you want to come, Tina-Rae or Mylene, but what I'm thinking about doing, Mylene, is inviting Dustin and Jessica to come as well so that we could all be on the farm because I don't have time to go out more than once here and there. So we could all meet at the farm on the 9th of February, which is a Sunday at 1 p.m. We could look at where Dustin and Jessica could put their tiny home. Then Mylene, you can have a discussion with them. Does it go in piles? Does it go on gravel? What kind of propane uses you see for them? You can talk to them about that. You can also talk to Lori and Lynn, Mylene, about where, because this would be one of the 4 mobile homes where their unit might go. And then we're going to actually go from the farm to visit Mitch, like I said, in Chrysler, which is 23 minutes away, and he's going to show us his plant and his units. So I don't know if you guys want to come, but that's what I would suggest. And then we can just resolve these issues with Jessica and Dustin and also with Lori and Lynn and anyone else right there on site.
I can come.
I'd like that.
Well, I can't come. I thought you had said the visit would be on the 1st of February, and I arranged my schedule. I'm going to be in town for the 1st of February, which is a Saturday. And the 9th of February is going to be out of the question for me because I need to be up here. And I would have liked to have been there, but I don't I would like for us to decide what we're going to accept as pads or as receiving pads for the sites or site
Well,
preparation.
I'm not opposed to
Okay.
the idea of using screw piles. I'm not. Like you were pretty convincing, but I do need you to talk to Justin and Jessica. But that might be and I also need your advice on where the damn thing is going and where Lynn and Lori's unit might go. So yeah,
So
it's kind of awkward.
let me ask you, what is on the first? Because Chris, you had told me you were going
Yeah.
to the farm on the 1st of February and
Yep.
the 30th you were free.
Yep.
So, Bruce, are you going to be on the farm on the 1st of February as well?
I don't know. I'm just going to check my schedule now.
That's when we're meeting Kira and looking at the Noble. And then
We
so
were going
we're
to be,
definitely do
yeah,
Dunrobin.
we were going to be in Dunrobin though, right?
Yep. Yep. Um,
Ah,
Yeah, on the 1st
but
of February, I've got Kira and Chris visiting Ron and Michelle because Kira wanted to see the Noble,
okay.
okay.
and
But I'll
and
be around the 30th too, because Bruce, I'll be saying, and at that point, I'm leaving my place. I'm heading over to your place on the 30th, and then
yeah,
I figured
yeah.
we'd stop by the farm anyways.
Well, hold
Uh,
on, Chris. Sorry, I'm booking appointments for us on the 30th in the morning.
but yep,
Okay,
that's fine. I can make that happen.
like early morning. If
So
you're going to
so
go to,
so
okay.
hang on a second. What appointments are you booking, Mylene?
So Mike, the contractor,
Yeah,
gonna have him in, meet
yeah,
Chris, and I'm hopefully gonna have him, I want him to take a look at the plumbing while he's there for the gray water.
yeah.
He didn't go into the basement the last time. If he can get his septic guy to come, I'd like the septic guy to take a look if possible. I haven't spoken to them yet. And the electrician to now the electrician might not need to come. It's basically an hourly rate. So I'm gonna have to know because any electrician will bill us on an hourly rate. And Etienne, who's the guy who's going to prep the fields because we got a 8,000 plus tax, say $10,000 estimate to prepare all of the fields, like remove the brush, remove the roots,
But
remove the
you were
crop.
just going to do the front portion, right?
Yes, yes. And
That makes
that's
sense.
what I
Yeah.
told him, okay, listen, 10,000 is too much. Could we do it in half? He said he won't come for less than 3 days work. But he's got heavy duty machinery, Bruce.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know.
he's coming on the 30th and he's going to have his side by side. And we're going to actually go out on the property. So I'll be able to go out to the front, go out to the, the
Okay,
garden
okay,
plots. Yeah.
I got it. All
Okay,
right, so
okay, okay.
all right, I have a solution then. What I'll
Yeah.
do, what time Chris, what time are we meeting? Because I've got the day booked with you, Chris. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm yours on the 30th until the 1st.
Yep.
What time are you going to be on site, Milan, on the 30th?
Well, you know how they are. They usually like to do this first thing in the morning. So Mike is probably going to want to be there at about 8:39. Etienne said, anytime, call me. I'm just going to be down the road. I'll call me when you're there and I'll come and join
All
you.
right. So what I'm going to do, if you and Chris are okay with it, is I'm going to ask Dustin and Jessica to come on the 30th. All right.
Yep.
And then Tina-Rae and I can deal with Lori and Lynn, and the visit to the other, the other tiny house manufacturer ourselves on the 9th. So that makes a lot of sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Dustin and and Jessica, and that makes a perfect sense to come to the farm, and I'll ask them to come for 10 o'clock. Okay, guys?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
All
And
right.
I will be
And
there.
so that makes a lot of sense, Melissa. So you do whatever you have to do on the 9th of February, Tina-Rae. I will send you after this meeting is over the details on that. Where if you're coming on that Sunday,
No,
where
it's not. It's not a Sunday. The 30th is a Thursday.
no, I'm talking about the 9th.
No, I can't come on the Sunday.
No, I know that. I'm talking to Tina-Rae.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Milan. Sorry, sorry,
No,
sorry.
it's okay.
Okay.
I said, Tina-Rae, where are you coming from on the 9th? Where are you
Deep
going?
River.
Deep River?
Yeah, so Highway 17, 417.
So, would you be able to,
I'll either scoot down the 416 or I'll come all
so
the
you
way to
could come
Bank
to
Street.
my place, I'm in Nepean, right? And
Sure, yeah.
we could carpool together, that'd be more fun.
Yay.
So, do you think you could come to my place, on the 9th, for noon?
Yeah.
All right, I'll just, and that'll give us a chance to have, a nice conversation, you and me.
We'll catch up.
Tina-Rae. So I'll send you my address and all that good stuff after this call is over. Well, we have a full agenda, you guys.
Do we ever?
Do we ever? Listen, what we're doing is very difficult. I get that. It's very complicated and it's very difficult. Mylene, I
Yeah.
think you are doing a fantastic job.
Me too.
Oh,
I agree.
I mean it.
Yeah.
You are like my youngest son, who's a project manager and development manager. You're a PETA, a pain in the ass, because you pay attention to detail and you ask tough questions. That's very good. I mean, I have to say my youngest son, Matthew, has really, really, really improved as a project manager, and he's exactly like you are. He pays attention to detail and he asks the tough questions. So I really love the work you're doing. My hat is off to you. Tina-Rae, I'm super happy that you're back on board. It's going to add a lot to us. Some of those questions you asked Mylene, those were great. Chris, as always, you're our leader. We have a lot to do, but we're on the right track. We're going to make this a big success, and this is only the first one, you guys. There'll be others.
And
Absolutely.
I sense that we're wrapping up now, Bruce.
We are.
Okay, but I still have a lot of questions for the next meeting then, because
Yeah.
I'd really like us to do the plan for phase 0, 1, and 2.
100%. 100%.
Especially, do we go or not? Like, there's major work to do here, electrical input, electrical inlets and septic tanks and this and that.
100%. What we are focused on though now, Mylene, is not anything outside of phase 0. We all the stuff that we're deciding on is the near-term stuff to try and get us to cash flow positivity, right? The two workshops, a couple of Vanguards, the summer kitchen. We've got to be careful not to take on too much. I want to try and raise some equity, which the board has approved today. If we have another $300,000 sitting in our bank account, we'll all be a little bit more comfortable. I will be, and I'm sure Chris will be, and the rest of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. We have to plan out phase 1 and phase 2, but not yet. We
No, but-
really have to focus. We have to be laser focused on February 15th. The spring market starts. I gotta ramp up the marketing for those garden plots.
No,
I
I understand, but even the garden plots, the noble homes are phase 0 or phase 1?
phase 1.
Okay, so then we don't have to talk about the site preparation or the electricity at this point.
Until we get phase 0, well in
Done.
hand, and we're starting to see it building our cash flow, and we're not looking at our bank account going down every month.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
and don't forget, if we do a deal with Chris and whoever teams up with him on the dog park, and we have pushed our land value to 150 or 160,000 an acre, that just makes Chris's job with BMO and everything else so much easier. Right? I mean,
Proof, yeah.
we're doing really, really good work, but we've got to get phase 0 done and then worry about phase 1. I really want to stress that. Okay, listen, how about our next board meeting on Wednesday, the 26th of February? Can you guys look at your calendars?
6, yeah. I'm wide open.
good for me.
All right. So Mylene, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I should be.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send out an invitation. We've recorded this. I'll put it up on YouTube as always. And now I got to go worry about an apartment that has the frozen pipes.
Never ends.
See you guys.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see
Take
you.
care, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Mylene.